Here are all the new features and changes introduced with One UI 7. In One UI 6, if you turn on the power saving mode, then the display's refresh rate will be set to 60 Hz. However, in One UI 7, you can continue using the display at 120 Hz, even in power saving mode. You can turn this setting on by going to Settings, Battery, Power saving mode, and turning off the Set Motion Smoothness to standard toggle button. Similarly, in One UI 6, if you set the battery protection to maximum, then your phone will stop charging after reaching 80%. You cannot adjust the charging level, but with One UI 7, you can now set the charging limit from 80% up to 95%. In One UI 6, if your battery dips below 5%, then your screen brightness will automatically decrease. However, in One UI 7, you can choose to disable this automatic dimming by going to Settings, Battery, and turning off this Auto Dim Screen toggle button. If you open the Clock app in One UI 7, you now get the option to group alarms together. This option is missing on One UI 6. Using it, you can adjust the settings together at once or separately, however you prefer. Unlike with One UI 6, with One UI 7, you now get the option to transcribe your phone calls. It's a pretty useful feature if you frequently take important phone calls, as you will now have a summary of your entire conversation. You can turn it on by going to Call Settings, Recorded Calls, and turning on the Auto Call Transcript toggle button. The search bar in the app drawer is now placed at the bottom, making it easier to reach. Previously on One UI 6, it was at the top. With the update, you now get a vertical app drawer by default, but you get the option to switch it back to the way it was before if you find it inconvenient. One other thing, in One UI 7, the folders on the app screen opens up and covers the entire screen, whereas on the One UI 6, folders used to open in a window format. If you go to Contacts widget, then you'll notice that in One UI 6, you had an additional widget for direct messages, but it's missing on the One UI 7. And as you can see here, you get a dual contact widget and 3 sizes for a 4 contact widget, no single contact widget. But over here, you do get a single contact widget and a 4 contact widget, but no dual contact widget. In the clock widgets, you get more options as compared to One UI 6, whether it's the alarm widgets, digital clock, analog clock, or dual clock widgets. Same goes for the camera widgets. Unlike One UI 6, which only has a single camera widget, with One UI 7, you can now add 3 custom camera widgets to quickly access different camera modes from the home screen. If you put both the devices in landscape mode, then you'll notice a lot of differences. The One UI 7 is a lot more organized. It properly displays the widgets and other icons. Whereas One UI 6 stretches the widgets and dwarfs the icons, making it look less polished. You notice the same difference on the app screen. In lock screen settings of the One UI 7, you get more widget options as compared to One UI 6. And if you tap on the clock, then you can see that the font has a separate window and style of clock has a separate window. Whereas on the One UI 6, the fonts are here, the style is here, and the colors are on the bottom. It looks way more organized on One UI 7. In the Notes app, tap on the AI button and you can see that the options window of One UI 7 has a gradient background, whereas it's just plain on One UI 6. It's just a cosmetic change, the options remain the same in both. One major animation change with One UI 7 is in the battery animation. In One UI 6, the charging animation is like this, and in One UI 7, it's like this. The charging sounds are also different on both devices. I have also done a detailed video on One UI 6 and 7 sounds, including charging, lock unlock, and notification sounds. You can check it out by tapping on the I button. On One UI 6, the charging animation remains the same on both locked and unlocked screen. However, on One UI 7, it's different on the locked and unlocked screen. The battery icon is pill-shaped on One UI 7. The battery percentage is also now displayed inside the icon, whereas it is the stock battery icon on One UI 6. One significant feature you get with One UI 7 is the Now bar. It features live activities and music playback, ongoing navigations, etc. It shows up like this on the notification bar, and if I tap on it, it expands to show more info. I can also flick it to see other live activities. It even shows up on the lock screen. But the best part about this feature is that it can show you live sports scores. You can just add your favorite teams or leagues and keep up with real-time scores when you're busy and can't afford to watch the game. The notification panel also had a makeover. On One UI 6, the notifications panel and quick settings are on a single pane, which you can access by swiping down anywhere on the screen. But with One UI 7, swiping anywhere will open the notification panel, but swiping from the top right will open quick settings. It's basically like that of the iPhone. Personally, I didn't like this one, so it's good that Samsung has given an option to switch it back to the way it was on One UI 6. By the way, this new quick settings panel is totally customizable. You can not only change the widget size, but also their position or order. You cannot do that with One UI 6. And if I tap and hold the brightness bar, I can access a few extra brightness options like extra brightness and adaptive color tone. Unlike One UI 6, you also get a volume bar on the One UI 7, and if I hold it down, I can change the Dolby Atmos profile, I can customize the equalizer, and I can also turn on these two features, boost dialogue and loudness normalization. In the camera app, you'll notice that the camera settings are now at the bottom, making it easier to reach and configure. On One UI 7, you get a smart AI search feature. Basically, you can now search for any picture in the gallery by providing a vague description for it. Like here, I can just type red t-shirt and it pulls up all the photos where the person is wearing a red tee. I can also use this smart search in the settings, so I don't have to remember where every little setting is located. For example, I can just type "my eyes are hurting" and it immediately pulls up the eye comfort shield and other relevant settings at the top. So, those were all the new features or changes that come with One UI 7. Comment below which change you like the best or if I missed any, and subscribe to Gizmo Rush for more informative videos like this. I'll see you in the next one.